Have you played through or at least heard of the 3D Fallout games and asked yourself, I wonder if there's a game like this but for adults? I have good news for you, friend, there is. It's called S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Howdy there, I'm definitely not a hedgehog, and welcome to Pleb Review, the satirical gaming review series that even your mama could enjoy. And if you actually find yourself not enjoying the video, well, tough tits, because YouTube took away your dislike privileges, so you're gonna have to complain about it down in the comment section. S.T.A.L.K.E.R, Anomaly. I honestly do not know where to begin with this game. How about we start with what it is and why it exists. The S.T.A.L.K.E.R franchise consists of 3 mainline games released some time ago that if you play through at a breakneck pace, you can complete all 3 over the course of 68 hours in 9 days. Ask me how I know. Each of those games with their own unique stories, quest lines, and explorable environments. What S.T.A.L.K.E.R Anomaly does is combine the resources from all 3 games into one gigantic open world experience. Well, it's actually several large areas broken up by loading screens, so maybe not the modern definition of open world, but I ain't got time for semantics. I'm about to be obliterated by a pseudo-giant. These areas, much like my ex-girlfriends, are both massive and numerous, and since motorized methods of maneuvering are difficult to program, your primary source of getting from point A to point B is good old-fashioned left foot, right foot. The amount of freedom of exploration this game world offers you has few rivals. Many games these days call themselves open, but have artificial barriers that prevent you from getting to late game areas too soon, and developers say it's for balancing purposes and it's for your own good. But S.T.A.L.K.E.R Anomaly says forget all that noise. If you truly wanted to, there is nothing stopping you from just hoofing it from the newbiest starting area all the way to the main antagonist primary base of operations. Well, theoretically there's nothing stopping you. Practically, the list of things that is most likely going to stop you is substantial. Man, the idea of just dropping a brand new stalker in the rookie village with nothing more in his inventory than a Makarov, a bottle of vodka, and a dream to bum rush the Chernobyl nuclear power plant as fast as possible is a hilarious idea. And I'm pretty sure if you just go around and through the red forest, you don't even need to turn off the brain scorcher. That might make an interesting video idea. It'd be even more fun to stream something like that. Oh man, I need to get a larger audience so I can start streaming. What the heck was I talking about? Oh yeah, S.T.A.L.K.E.R Anomaly. Now, even though it doesn't necessarily have a huge impact on the actual gameplay, I still feel like I need to make an attempt at explaining the lore of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. However, S.T.A.L.K.E.R lore is extensive and maybe even a little convoluted, and some of the more interesting ideas and details can only be found in the novelizations that I think are all in Russian. And unfortunately, me no habla cheeky breeky. Also, I'm pretty sure there are many questions that would be answered by the sequel, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, that's supposed to be released later this year. However, seeing as they are a Ukrainian company that's located in the Ukrainian capital, those folks have something more important to worry about right now. Fingers crossed S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 ever comes out, period. So this has to be horrifically summarized. I'm going to leave a lot of things out, and hopefully I don't get anything wrong. I'll make it quick though, 2, maybe 3 paragraphs. So as far as I can tell, all of human history leading up to the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster is pretty much the same as it is in real life. It's everything after that that kind of goes off the rails. As if a nuclear reactor exploding wasn't already off the rails enough for you. So the 400 square kilometer area around the power plant gets labeled as the Chernobyl exclusion zone, which we stalkers affectionately refer to as just the zone. 3 years later, some sneaky government scientists want to do some sneaky business, and what better place than in an irradiated hellscape that no one's allowed to go to. And conveniently, it even has a mostly functioning nuclear power plant right in the middle of it. I mean, one of the reactors exploded, but I'm sure the others are fine. This is all actually pretty believable. It's everything after that things get a little crazy. The primary goal of the scientist is working on the Collective Consciousness Project, which they creatively abbreviate to the C Consciousness. Creative naming coming from these guys is going to be a bit of a theme. You're going to see more of that later. The idea behind the C Consciousness Project is to combine the genius minds of these scientists into one collaborative think tank, and in doing so, giving them psychic capabilities. Not psychedelic like that filthy freedom faction. The actual ability to manipulate people and things with their minds. And if you think that sounds absurd, you are correct. Well, they actually succeed in that initial project and then turn their attention to the zone itself, where they drop the ball pretty badly with their next experiment and things go horribly wrong. And the whole situation with this being an irradiated hellscape actually gets way worse. Mutated creatures and anomalies start popping up all over the zone, as well as emissions, which are essentially the zone's version of a natural disaster. Even though there was absolutely nothing natural about these at all, think of them as being miniature hurricanes, but instead of happening on a seasonal basis, they happen on a nearly daily basis, and instead of copious amounts of wind and rain, we get horrific amounts of radiation and psychic energy. On the one hand, that sounds freaking horrible, but on the other hand, I bet property taxes are very competitive. Two important things happen next. Number one, the sea consciousness starts brainwashing people to become their agents and do their bidding, also tattooing the letters S.T.A.L.K.E.R onto the arms of said agents. This acronym take on the word stalker may or may not stand for scavengers, trespassers, adventurers, loners, killers, explorers, and robbers. Remember when I said the whole naming thing would make a reappearance? Yeah, there you go. Also, I'm very curious on what the differences are between an adventurer and an explorer, but whatever. Number two, a bunch of rumors get out that there are incredibly rare and valuable artifacts to be found in the zone. Rumors that were most likely started by the sea consciousness. Then a relative gold rush begins and people from all over the world start flooding into the zone. The agents I mentioned earlier start mingling with these newcomers for obvious reasons, and the stalker tattoo on their arms gets adopted into a nickname for any and everybody that comes to the zone, after which we get the events of the initial 3 Stalker games with our boy S.T.A.L.K.E.R. If you spend any amount of time exploring the Stalker lore, you're going to hear the name S.T.A.L.K.E.R quite a bit. He's a pretty influential character, especially when it comes to dealing with these a-holes. You can kind of compare him to someone like the Master Chief from Halo, except the things S.T.A.L.K.E.R does and the situations he gets himself into and then out of are somehow less believable than an 8-foot-tall super soldier from 500 years in the future. Alright kids, story time is over, let's actually talk about the game itself. Now, for any of you more lore-minded individuals that may have concerns as to what the narrative relationship is between Stalker, Anomaly, and the 3 mainline games, you may be happy to hear that there really isn't any. Remember what I said earlier about a bunch of people flooding into the zone from all over the world for various reasons? Well, in Stalker Anomaly, that is you, basically. You are essentially a blank slate, and you can be whatever you want to be, so long as that thing is not a female. Because I guess all the women of the Stalker world realize that the zone is a literal hellhole and there's no good reason to go there. Well, all women except this one, but she's kind of an idiot. I have 3 different mods installed with the sole purpose of keeping her alive. Her health has been increased, her rank has been increased, her AI has been adjusted, she has 3 times as much health regeneration, and she still manages to get herself killed. Whenever I have to cart her around, I tend to have her just guard this location in a completely safe area, even though the word safe doesn't really exist in the zone. And then I just abandon her while I go off and murder everything within a 10-kilometer radius, because if I leave one hostile creature alive, she will find a way to get killed by it. I really appreciate the Stalker Anomaly development team realizing there's a lack of female representation in the Stalker series as a whole and trying to rectify that by creating this character. However, that does not change the fact that Hip is the bane of my existence. I just need a mod that erases her entirely and turns Sidorovich into an anime waifu. Speaking of mods, let us finally discuss what makes Stalker Anomaly great. When you download this game, you are essentially downloading a heavily modified version of the 3rd Stalker game in the main lineup, Call of Pripyat, released in 2010. And I do mean heavily modified. Only by playing them back to back can you truly appreciate the improvements. Anyways, that being said, that makes it incredibly easy to customize any aspect of the game you want to. Everything from basic changes like making the game easier or harder, to even drastic changes like dealing with that lack of female representation I mentioned earlier, and just filling up the zone with female stalkers. You do you, fam. There's just this refreshing mentality from the Stalker Anomaly developers of, we may have made it, but it is your game, do with it what you want. And many people have. There are over 2,300 mods for this game on the ModDB website alone. And the best part is, this is all completely for free. Now, being a completely free mod can be a blessing and a curse. Your mileage may vary. One big aspect of this is that by definition, pretty much everything is unofficial. So unlike a AAA game made by a massive company, when something goes wrong, you can point at them and say, you need to fix this. With Stalker Anomaly, you're kind of doing everything yourself, so if something goes wrong, it's on you to fix it for the most part. I'll give you a bit of example of something I had to deal with recently. The way my operation works is I run Stalker Anomaly through a program called Mod Organizer because I also play with a dozen different mods downloaded, and this is by no means how you have to do things. Downloading Stalker Anomaly 1.5.1 is very similar to downloading almost any other game from any other application. These mods are just a way of improving my personal playing experience. For some Stalker fans, a dozen mods isn't even that much. Using Mod Organizer was the best way of achieving my goals because I suffer from a mental deficiency called SSS, which stands for Severely Stupid Syndrome, and I needed the whole process to be as drag and drop as possible. For anyone that's interested, I'll have a pinned comment below that has links to downloading Stalker Anomaly, Mod Organizer, a video on how to utilize Mod Organizer with Stalker Anomaly, as well as links to every mod that I use. Can you even have that many links in a YouTube comment? I guess I'm going to find out later. One of these mods I have adds glow sticks into the game because flashlights are so 20th century. And while it was downloading, it brought up a prompt to not only add glow sticks, but to make some other changes as well. And initially I was like, sure, whatever, I don't care. Well, these changes were to some kind of texture that either one of the other 11 mods or the game itself did not vibe with. And whenever I went to play the game, I could not use one of these new fancy glow sticks without the game crashing. I can't just at GSC Game World on Twitter and be like, hey, I'm having trouble playing a mod for a game that you made over a decade ago that also has 12 mods on top of it. What are you guys gonna do about it? You know, seeing as there's that whole war thing I mentioned earlier, the thing they would probably do about it is block me. Now, theoretically, I could go onto the forum for the glowstick mod and ask for assistance from the creator or anyone else that is also using the mod, but then again, they could just say, hey buddy, you're using 11 other mods, that's on you, and they would be absolutely right. Now, the simplest way of solving this problem is to uninstall the mod and maybe find one similar, or just forget about the idea entirely. What I eventually did was reinstall it, go through that little menu thing and just not click on the texture change option, and everything worked fine, mostly thanks to Mod Organizer working its magic in the background to keep the operation running smoothly. My personal experience with Stalker Anomaly on its own was virtually problem-free, and the base game is good enough without modifications. But if you want to make changes, just be warned there's a bit of a snowball effect, and the more you get that ball rolling, the more likely you are to come across problems. But like I said earlier, your mileage may vary. Now, I've spent a significant amount of time discussing the game, but there seems to be something missing. Discussion about gameplay. And that is intentional. I could sit here and tell you how when fighting humanoid enemy types you need to aim for the head and avoid getting shot in the head yourself. Or if you run into a controller mutant and don't have any kind of psychic protection, you better have some vodka handy. I don't mean in-game vodka, because that stuff has no psychic protection. I'm talking about the real stuff, because it's the only thing that'll keep the nightmares away. If you've made it this far in the video and you're that interested in Stalker Anomaly, you just need to go play it already and learn these things for yourself. The game is not going to hold your hand. Why should I? If you've never played a Stalker game before, let me tell you how you're going to start off with Stalker Anomaly, because it's pretty much the same way for everybody. You are going to die a lot. You are going to not know which mutants are easy to kill and which aren't. You're not going to recognize what many of the anomalies even look like, probably going to discover most of them by just wandering into them, and you're not going to know which areas have factions that are hostile to your current faction, and get gunned down quite frequently. But with a little determination and liberal use of the quick save feature, seriously, I hit F5 on my keyboard more than I hit left mouse click. You can join the rest of us stalkers in conquering the zone. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video and aren't too irked by any details I may have left out. So is Stalker actually a Fallout game for grown-ups? I do not know. Different strokes for different folks, am I right? What I do know is I am definitely not a hedgehog. This has been Pleb Review. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more from me, and until the next one, this is not goodbye for good, just goodbye for now. I don't even know what most of the words on this label say. What does 40% ALC/VOL stand for? 80 proof? It's better than the grades I got in high school. I can't even get the damn thing open. Oh.